Hilchis Meilah Perek Revi. Now we learned that Kodesh Kadoshim, as soon as you magdish it, there's a din Meilah. Just when you zedig the dam and the basar becomes mutter b'achila lekenim, so then there's no longer a din Meilah even for zorim. That was b'negei Kodesh Kadoshim. By Kodesh Kadoshim is fakert. When you magdish it, there's no Meilah. When you zedig the dam, so on the imurim which are lemizbeach, that's when there's a din Meilah. That was b'negei behema mamish. Now we're talking about the money. So if a person's magdish money, that the money should go to buy Kodesh Kadoshim, so again, the money right away has a din Meilah. Masha'inkin, if you magdish money, and the money is going to buy Kochim Kalim, so then there's no din Meilah, because the Kochim Kalim, there's no din Meilah until there's Rika, and then it's Chal on the Imurim. That's his halacha. Perek Revi, halacha Aleph. Hamafrish mois lechatosei, or leilosei, or le'ashami, which is all Kodesh Kadoshim, or le'seirim b'neyena, which is also Kodesh Kadoshim, because Terim Neyena is either both, we're talking about Oilis, or Neila and Achatos, is Meilah behem mishoshe hifresh. As soon as you are mafresh the money, so it's chala kedusha on this money for Kodesh Kadoshim. So in Meilah there's a din Meilah. However, hifresh l'shlam, which is Kochim Kalim, so then ain't Meilah behem. So there's no din Meilah. Halacha beis higdish ever echad l'dom of l'mizbech. Now the din is when a person takes a behema which is royal l'mizbech, and he says that dom of this behema should be for a shlomim, for example. The behema itself is royal l'shlamim. So even though Be'etzem he only said the dom of Shulzeh should be Shlom, he only said the dom of Shulzeh Shlom, but on that, nevertheless the din is that Migud the Nachsi, Kedush is dom on the Behema, so it's Nachsi, Kedush is Haguf on the whole Behema. That's din number one. Now there's another din. When a person says, for example, Ragle Shulzu Oila, so he's saying that the regal of this Behema should be an Oila, so the din is the regal has a din of an Oila, and therefore what he has to do is go ahead and sell the rest of the behemoth. He can't sell the regular because it's already Kedushas Oila. He sells the rest of the behemoth to someone that wants to bring an Oila, and that person pays him for the rest of the behemoth besides for the regal, and then you makriv an Oila, so Meilah nikriv an Oila. That's these two dinim. Now the question is, what happens when a person says that dom of this regal, as he says, there's a behemoth, he wants the dom of this regal to be for an Oila. He doesn't say the whole behemoth. He doesn't say that the regal should have Kedushas Haguf. The question is, he says the dom of the regal should be L'Tzeirech Oila. So do we say that since he's only speaking about the regal, so maybe it's only dom of Shulzu Oila. So the din is that the regal has a din of dom of Shulzu Oila, that it has to be used L'Tzeirech Oila. Or do we say no, that Migu de Nachsi, Kedushas Domim on the regal, so it was also Nachsi, Kedushas Haguf on the regal. So Meilah, the regal has a din of a neila. L'mayin afkemina. Afkemina will be if it's only kedushas damim. If it's only kedushas damim, so you can have a pidyon. You could be paid of the kedushas damim of the regal. The regal is supposed to be used for a neila. So you say, listen, there's a value of this regal. The value of this regal should be chal. The kedusha of the value of this regal should be chal on other money, and now you use the other money to buy a neila. Masha'inkin, if you say miga de nachsi, kedushas dom on the regal, it's nachsi kedushas haguf on the regal. So a regal that has kedushas haguf is not a little opinion. You can't be paid the kedushas haguf of a regal. You could be paid the kedushas haguf of a behemoth if it has a mum. You can't be paid the kedushas haguf of a regal. So if it's only kedushas domim, so it could be nivda, it could be chal on something else. Masha'inkin, if it's kedushas haguf, so it can't be nifta. So again, so the suffix over here is there is a musig of a kedushas dom that's chal on an entire behema, and we say miga de nachsi kedushas dom, nachsi kedushas haguf. There's a musig of a kedushas haguf on a regal. The question is when it's nachsi kedushas adomim on a regal or a part of the behema, do we say nachsi also kedushas haguf on that part of the behema, and we might have kamina? Nafkaminas could you be paid it? So that's the halacha base. Higdish Ever Echad L'Dom of L'Mizbech. It was Magdish and Ever L'Dom of L'Mizbech. So over here, Hareza Suffolk, that the Lush of the Ram, some Rams, is in Pashta Kedusha Bekul Lon. So it sounds like whether it's Pashta Kedusha in the entire Behema. That's not, that the right gear says in Pashta Kedusha Bekul Loi. And the Lashon means whether or not it was Chal Kedusha in the entire regal. In other words, it's not Bekul Lon, whether it's in the entire Behema. The shaila is if migu de nachsi kedushas domim on the regal is also nachsi Kedushas Haguf, and that's called Bekuloi, means in the entire regal, not only the dome of the regal, but the entire regal. Arez Sofik, Poshta Kedusha Bekuloi Elei Poshta. Again, the Lashon Ram is not so glad to go this, but L'chur the Pshat, Lefichach, Tikarev, you have to be makriv this behema, and V'lei Yipodi, you shouldn't be paid it. Again, because if it's Kedushas Domim only, so you can be Nivda. Masha'ekin, if it's Kedushas Haguf, you can't be paid it. You have to go ahead and sell it to someone that wants a, just like if you would have said Ragla Shuzul Eilu without saying Domim. So then the din is you should sell it or to someone, or you yourself can be makriv it. You could sell it to someone and sell the rest of the behema you could get money for, except for the regal. The regal is Kedushas Haguf. Lefichach tikra v'lei yipad. You shouldn't be paid this regal. And the imniv, the lepel you were paid it, is a Meilah b'pidyeini. You can't be, you're not Meilah b'pidyeini, because there's no din Meilah b'pidyeini, because there's a suffix whether the pigeon really has a din of a pigeon. In other words, if there was chal, Kedushas Haguf, on the regal, you can't be paid the Kedushas Haguf of a regal through pigeon. There's no pigeon on the Kedushas Haguf of a regal. Mashenkin, if it's only Kedushas Domim, so then it would be chal the pigeon. So that's the suffix. Halacha Gimel. Hamafresh mois linazirusei. Person's mafresh mois that he's going to bring the behemoths which he has to bring for his nazirus. So which he has to bring a chatas and eila nishlam. The mafresh mois linazirusei is asili hanezbem because it was l'tzeir korbanis. V'imnana, however, v'imnana lemal. Why? So we learned that mois that was hufresh for kachim kedoshim has a din meila. Mois that were hufresh for Kachim Kalim don't have a din milah. That's what we learned the first halacha. Now, Nazirusei Be'emes has a chatos and a shlomim. But since the entire money could be used for a shlomim, so in Meilah it's not clear that it's for a chatos. It was Nazirusei, but it could be used all that money for a shlomim. So in Meilah, there's no din milah because there's no hechrev that it's l'tzeir a chatos. That's what he's saying. Lachamol. Hamafresh mois linazirusei. So the din is also lihanizbem. You're not allowed to be nana from that money. That's pashat. V'im nana, but if you were nana, is leimal. Why? Mipnei shehin ruyin lavi kulan shlomim. Because all of this money could be used for the shlom of the naziris. The aim is shlom meila. In shlom, there's no meila. In money which is destined for a shlom, there's no meila. Just like in a shlom itself, there's no meila until the zrikas hadam for the imurim. Ve'in b'shlom meila ele ben mureim achar zrikas hadam. Mes yiplul in the So even though over here you have chatas and eila and shlom mu'ur, that's halacha mesh misinai, that the mois tumen of a nazir is yipul and davar. That's talking about if amafish mois and zirus, and it was tam. He didn't specify what should be for what. What about hoyim mefurashim? It was mefurish. He clearly said which one should be for which. So he knows he was mafish dmei chatas and dmei eila and dmei shlom. So then his dmei chatas yelchel yamamelech. There's no din meila because it's already not destined to be used. But on the other hand, you're not allowed to be nana from it. It was kachim. The meila is yoviu eila umeilim bam. It's a din. It's regular kachim gedashim. It's money which is oimet for an eila. So meila there's a din meila. And meila that's pasht. And the shlam can move. And the mei shlam there's no din meila. Omar eilu lechatasi v'ashal l'zirusi. He separated, made two groups of money. One was lechatasi, and v'hashar l'nazirusi. So here the din is as im nana b'chol hashar. So if in the dmei chatas we just said, in the dmei chatas there's a din milah. Now what about the shar? Is im nana b'chol hashar? If he used all the money of the shar is mal, so he was male, because in the shar there's also an eila. However, nana b'miktsase, if he was only nana in mixes of the shar, so then leimal he wasn't male. Now over here the din is lechura. If a person says on all harel and zirusi, so since he's able to bring all of it a shlamim, so we say that he's not male. He's not male. Nana leimal. That's what we learned in the beginning of halacha gimel. Now lechura over here also he said elu lechatasi, and then he said ve'elu l'shar. So lechura the shar is keilu and oil and a shlam. So just like if you have a chatas and eila and a shlam, you're not moil because you could use all of it for a shlamim. L'chur over here also, but over here since he already said eila, so l'chur over here also he has an eila and a shlam in the shar. So why do we say that if he used all the money he was moil? So the answer is because since here he is already specifying, and he said areil chatasi, so we nam on that in the hashar for the rest is kol, that it means to say he's going to use the shar cipher and oil, not stam. Over there, even though he didn't specify, but we say that in the shar there's the oila and the shlam. There's two types of money in the shar. There's the oila and the shlam. So therefore, if he uses all the money, which means safkos, if he used some of the oila money, so he was moil. Masha'en, if he only used part of the money, so then you could say, no, the part of the money that he used was the shlamim money, and what was left over that he didn't use is the oila money. Let's again. If a person says hamafish mois l'ziru say, so then he's not moil even if he used all of it. If they were mefurashim, so then the meichatus is yama melech, and the meilah is oila or meilim. Now Omar elu lechatasi v'hashar l'nazirusi is imnana b'chol hashar mal. If he was nana in all of the shar, so Meilah he was also koil the dmei oila which was in the shar, so he was male. However, nana b'miksasi, he was only nana in the mixes of the shar, is leimal, because you could always say that the mixes that he was male, that he was nana from, was the shlamim money. V'cheinim Omar elu leilasi v'hashar l'nazirusi is again v'nana b'kulam. If he was nana b'kulam, so he was nana sayin the chatas and sayin the shlamim is mal. However, nana b'miksasim, so you could always tie. I wasn't nana in the chatas money. I was only nana in the shlamim money, lay money. Nana b'miksasim lay mal. She'ain b'dmei shlam meila. In b'dmei shlam there's no meila. Therefore, since he was only nana b'miksasim, you could tie that it was only in the shlamim money. Now here for shmois, when a person is mafresh shmois v'omar elu leilasi ve'elu lechatasi ve'elu l'shlamim. And then v'nisarvu, and then the money got mixed up. So he has specific money. This money was la'oila, this money was lachatas, and this money was l'shlam, v'nisarvu. So the din is me'el in bekulan. If he uses all of the money, so there's me'el, and the lashon ram is me'el in b'ksasim. You also me'el b'miksasim, which is shver, because l'chura, when he uses part of the money, so l'chura you don't know which part. Maybe he's only using the shlamim money. It's not so clear what's the avonas advarim. So they bring that since from Karaneda, the Ram Morach says that since most of the money is kachik kedoshim dikim money, so therefore you go basarev and you say each part of the money that you use has the din of kachik kedoshim money. But it becomes bottled berev. It's a chidush. Al kol panim nachamal. He had three types of money. Hifrish money, moiz v'amar, el leilos. He had three groups of money, three bundles of money. Hifrish moiz v'amar elu leilosi. Ve'elu l'chatosi ve'elu l'shlam, and v'nis arvu. So the din is male in bikulim. If he used all of it, so he was male and also a male in b'gzasim. And we're saying that the Karaneda says because Azlina Basaruba is v'ketzed yasa. What should you do? Yikach sholish behemis. U'mechal d'mei chatas b'chol mokim shu ala chatas u'd'mei eila ala elu d'mei shlam ala shlam, and then male. So that money becomes b'chul on the karbanos. Halacha dalet. Echad memchuyavi kinim shehifrish mois v'omar elu l'chivasi. He said elu l'chivasi, which he has to bring a chatas and an eila. Is male in bekulan or male in b'miksasim, because each part it's a chatas or eila. It's money which is for a chatas and eila, so they're both kachik gadashim. So male there's a din meilah. Ve'im mesu, and if the person dies and there's money which he set aside for chivasi. Because he was a zav or it's a zava, so mesu is yiplu l'nadavik mishabiyarnu b'naziris u'meilim, and that money is still meilim, because that money is destined to go to be for kayitz hamizbeach, which is eilis. So meilis again, it's money which is going to be used for kachik kadoshim. So nachama, when a person is mechuyev in the kingdom, so when he's mafresh moy, so that money is destined to be used for an oil and a chatas, and meilis, so there's a din meilah, and if he dies, so that money is supposed to go to the tzibur to be used to buy oilers for kayitz hamizbeach, so it's still destined for a kachik kadoshim. Meilah, there's a din meilah. Halacha hey, hamafish chatose al achilas chelev, ve'hivia al achilas dam. So the din is if you're mafish the chatas for chelev, so that chatas can't be used for dam. So meilah, if you go ahead and use this chatas for dam that a person ate, so he's chayav a chatas for the chelev, and he's chayav a chatas for the dam. This chatas that was mafish for the chelev can't be mechaper for the dam. So the din is arezali kippur. He wasn't mechaper for the dam, and also lefichach limal. So it wasn't a meilah. Knows he's using hegdish for something which is not really what it's destined for. He's using it in order to mechaper himself on something else. This hegdish, this chatas is right now designated to be mechaper for the chelev, and that's what, if it's used for that, that's what it's fair for. Mashiach now he's going ahead and using it for something else. So lepel, he's not accomplishing anything with what he's using it for. Because lepel, it's lechiper. He's going to use this chatas chelev for chatas of dam. It's not if he would be able to use it for something else, so he would be male vices. Because since this chatas is hegdish and it's designated for something and is using it for something else, so he would be male. With lepel, he was lakekeeper. It's Lashon Haram, he's a lakekeeper. And lefichach leimal. If he would have been keeper, Lashon Gemara is punt fakert. That leimal and therefore lakekeeper. But the Ram is saying hareza lakekeeper. This chatas didn't accomplish anything for the dam, and Meilah, since it didn't accomplish anything for the dam, so therefore it is not a din Meilah. It sounds like if it would have been accomplishing something with the dam with this carbon, even though the whole accomplishment is only a carbonic accomplishment, and it is a carbon, it's a carbon for this, and he's using it a carbon for that. But nevertheless, since if he would have been accomplishing the kapara for the other thing, he would have been a mal. But over here is Ram saying hareza lakekeeper with this chatas, which was designated for chelev, he can't use it for dam, and therefore leimal. By using it for dam, he wasn't male. He just used the chatas, and nothing happened with it. That's the number one. That was talking about he was mafish a carbon, a behema for a chatas for chelev, and he used this chatas for chelev for dam is leikeeper and leimal. Now hifresh mois lechatas chelev. He has money, and that money was designated to buy a chatas chelev. And lepeil is konebem chatas dam. He bought with that money, which was designated for a chatas chelev, he bought a chatas dam. So it depends. If he bought it b'shegig, now when a person is moil b'shegig, so the item which he's being moil with is yoytzel l'chulin. So when a person takes this money, which is designated to buy a chatas chelev, and accidentally b'shegig he goes ahead and buys a chatas which is for dam, so Meilah, at that point in time when he's buying this chatas for dam, he's really being moitzed that money l'chulin. He's using money which was designated for a chatas chelev, and he's using it b'shegig for something that wasn't designated. So at that point in time, the money is being yoytze l'chulin. And lepel, since the money was being yoytze l'chulin, so basically he has chulin dika money that he bought a chatas dam. So Meilah, so then he's moil. He's moil lepel. He's going to be keeper. Lepel, this carbon he really bought from chulin dika money. He bought this new carbon with money that was once designated for chatas of a chelev, and lepel by b'shegig being moil in it, it became chulin, and then he bought with it a chatas for dam, and that chatas for dam is a good chatas. And lepel he was mechaper, and lefichach he's moil also. Lepel he'll be moil in that money because the din Meilah is a chayiv a carbon Meilah, is all the dinim of Meilah. However, b'mezid, if he did this b'mezid, if he took the money which was destined for a chatas chelev, and b'mezid he bought with it a chatas dam, so it never became uis money which was destined for a chatas chelev. So therefore he's using money which is a chatas chelev to buy a chatas of dam. That can't be chal the din of chatas of dam with money which was designated as chatas chelev. So therefore they keep her with this chatas which he's going to go ahead and be makriv is not going to be mechaper. There's not going to be a kapara. Lefichach limal. So therefore there was no Meilah. Whereas if with this money, whereas the din is if you take something of hegdish and you use something for something else and you accomplish it, so then there's a din Meilah in the money that you used. But over here you accomplished nothing. You went ahead b'mezid and you took money which was destined for a chatas of chelev and you bought with it a chatas of dam, so you can't really have a chatas of dam with that money. And that chatas of chelev never became chulin. So Meilah is leikeeper. So if it's leikeeper, therefore it's leimal. Lepel, the Meilah, l'chura, you could think the Meilah should happen right away when you buy the carbon and it becomes mois of chulin. Lepel, the Meilah is only going to happen when you're actually going to be zerig the chatas. That's what we're going to learn later on. That when a person takes moishel hegdish and he uses something with it to buy a carbon, so lepel, he's moil on it when he's actually zerig the dam of the carbon and there's the kapar of that carbon. But I'll call upon nochamal. When a person has the actual chatas of chelev and he uses the chatas of chelev for dam, so there's nothing to talk about. So it's leikeeper and leimal. If he has the money which was destined for the chatas of chelev, so if he used it b'shegig for a chatas of dam, so then he was keeper and therefore he was mal. If he used it b'mezid for the money which was destined for a chatas of chelev, for a chatas of dam, so then he was leikeeper and therefore he was leimal. That's the halach. Halacha vov. Hamafrish shtei sloim lo'asham. which is really what Asham needs, Shtei Sloim. And Lepeil v'lakach behem shnei elim l'chulin. He went ahead and he bought 2 elim, which each one is royally is Asham, and he bought it l'chulin. Is hail v'kana chulin b'dmei Asham. Lepeil, he went ahead and used the money of an Asham to buy chulin, is mal. So he was mailing it. And Meilah, we're told when he did it with Shegik, so therefore, v'chayiv l'shalem asara dinim. So now he has to pay back to Hegdish asara dinim. What's a cheshbon? Because shein shtei sloim v'chemish. Each seller is 4 dinim. So Meilah, he took 2 sloim of Hegdish, which were destined to buy an Asham. Shtei sloim l'Asham. It was mafre shtei sloim l'Asham. And he was moil in those shtei sloim. So Meilah, now he has to pay back the keren v'chemish. The keren v'chemish is 10 dinim, which is 2 sloim and 2 dinim. Now, and what does he do with it? So, as the din is, as we'll soon learn, when a person's moil behegdish, he has to give it back to hegdish. It depends what kind of hegdish it is. If we're dealing with hegdish, which was oimed la'asham, so he has to give back this keren v'chemish to this carbon, which he was originally destined to do it. In other words, he had shtei sloim, which was supposed to buy an asham. Lepel, he used those shtei sloim for chulin. So what he has to do now is go ahead and bring back the keren plus the chemish and go ahead and buy an asham with the keren and the chemish. So Meilah, so what should he do? He should chayiv l'shalom asara dinim shein shtoi sloim v'chemish v'yavi b'hamasham, and he has to bring an asham. That's number 1. And also Lepel, he did Meilah's v'yavi carbon asham al milasi, and he's also chayiv a carbon asham al milasi. So Nachamol, this person had shtei sloim which were designated to buy an asham. He was magdish to buy an asham. He went ahead with those 2 sloim and he bought 2 elim. So basically he was made the shtei sloim l'chul. So the din is he has to go ahead now and bring an asham, the original asham that he was mechuyev, not with shtei sloim but with eser dinim, which are the keren and the chemish. Plus he has to also bring an asham milas. Lefichach. Now Lepel, he bought shnei elim of chulin. Lefichach. Mechad mishnei elim shekon is yafa shtei sloim, and v'hasheni would be yafa asara dinim. So then, is Yavi Ashav Asara Osham Tachas HaMeilim HaChemish. So he could use one of those Elim to replace that original Osham that he was Mechuyev, that he was supposed to buy with the two sloim, and now he has an Osham, he has an aisle which is worth 10 dinim. So he could use that to replace his original Osham. And Yavi Ashav Shtei Sloim, Osham HaMilas, and Lepel, he'll utilize the 2 Elim which he bought, which is L'chura Pashit. Lepel, he owns these 2 Elim. Now he's mechuyev to bring now a asham which is worth 10 sloim, and he has to mechuyev to bring another asham which is worth 2 sloim al milasi. If he happens to have it with the shtei elim, so he could use it. Now look, that was the din if he used both sloim to buy chulin. Now look, echad l'asham ve'echad l'chulin. He went ahead and bought one with the 2 sloim. He bought 1 behema l'asham and 1 behema l'chulin. So basically, he used a seller for the asham and a seller for the chulin. Is if the one that was for an asham was worth shtei sloim, is yavi also esel asham yarishim, because since sof kol sof with the 2 sloim which he originally designated for the asham, he bought with those 2 sloim, with some of those 2 sloim, he bought an asham, and lepel, that asham is worth 2 sloim, so that's beseder. Even though he was lepel male in the other money, but that's not going to change the fact that he bought an asham and with that money, and that asham is worth 2 sloim right now. Yavi Eisi Lasham Arishim. V'chein, im hoye zeh chulin yofa shtayim. Now, if the other chulin which he originally bought for 2 sloim, for 1 seller, it went up in price. He bought 2 elim. Each aisle was worth a seller. Now those 2 elim are each worth 2 sloim. So the first aisle he goes ahead and uses for the yasham, and the second aisle he uses for the shamilas because he was male in a seller. Is Yavi Esi Hasham Milasi, that he could use as a Hasham Milasi. Shari Moal B'Sela Achas Mit Me'asham. So Meilah, he's Mechuyev Hasham Milas. He's Mechuyev Hasham Milas. And besides that, is also, he never really paid back because he took Hegdish's money, that seller, and he used it to buy us a chulin. So now is V'Yishalim Chamisha Dinim V'Yipul Nudava. Besides that, he's also going to have to give another Chamisha Dinim, and that'll be Yipul Nudava, because that'll have a din of a Meiser Asham. It's Nachamah. If he takes the original 2 dinim, and he was moil in the 2 dinim, and he bought two elim, so basically now he owes the original Asham plus an Asham Milas. Now, if it happens to be that these two elim could take care of both, so that's beseder. Now we have the second case where he had two dinim, and he went ahead and bought with one of the dinim the osham that he was supposed to bring, and with the other dinner he used and he brought chulin. So lepel, if that osham which he originally bought with one of the dinim fits now and it's worth two dinim, so he can use that for his original osham. Even though he bought it with one seller, we learned before that a person, even though he bought it with one seller, but lepel it went up in value, he can use that as an osham. Now the other aisle which he bought, if it's also worth two dinim, so now that could be used as an asham meilas, but he still has to pay back the meilah. He was the meil in a seller, so for that paying back the meilah, he has to take 5 dinim, and those 5 dinim he's yiplul in a dover. That's how he pays back, because that's considered meiser asham. That's how he pays back his meilah, and the meilah everything's settled. Halacha zayin. Hanana midmei chatas. A person was nana midmei chatas. He was male in the dmei chatas. Now the din is when a person is male, so you have to pay back the keren v'chemish. And as we learned, if you're male in money that was destined for a carbon, so you pay back that money for that carbon. So now this person was nana midmei chatas. So he took the money, the dmei chatas, and he used it. Is actually karva chatas, and he wasn't yet makriv his chatas. So what he should do is Yesef Chemish al Mashanana. He should take the money which he was nana, the amount of money that he was nana, plus a Chemish, and V'yavi b'dam of chatos, and use that money to buy a chatos. Either if he has extra, in other words, he was nana and part of the money of the chatos, he should add it to the money that he has and buy with it a chatos. And also, since he was nana from Dmei chatos, is V'yavi carbon oshnal milasi. He also has to bring a carbon oshnal milasi. So he pays a keren, v'chemish, and an osham. The keren v'chemish goes to buy a chatos, and it goes in, and he has to bring an osham because he was male behegdish. V'chein im nana b'dmei osham actually he was nana b'dmei osham, and actually karav asham, and he didn't yet bring his carbon osham. Is again is yesef chemish. He should go ahead and pay back this keren plus a chemish. And v'yavi v'dam of Hashami, and then he should go ahead and that's how he's paying back the hegdish by bringing an osham with the keren v'chemish. And v'yavi asham achel milosim. But besides that, since he was a male hegdish, he has to bring an asham milos. Shekarbanas hamizbeach milosim lekarbanas hamizbeach. Because when a person is male in karbanas hamizbeach, and you have to pay back the milah, so what do you pay it back? You pay it back the karbanas hamizbeach. Because you pay the kabayis milosim. By the kabayis, if a person uses by the kabayis money, so then he has to pay back by the kabayis. But if he uses kachim mizbeach money, so he has to give it back to that kachim mizbeach. That's all talking about if it was ad shek. He still wasn't makriv his karbon chatos, and Meilah he uses that money for a karbon chatos. However, Noidel Shemuel, he found out that he was moil. V'acharkach karva chatose, and lepel he was makriv his chatose. Abavadayin lehifish milos. He didn't take the money of the money that he had to pay back. He had, let's say, $100. He used $50 of it, and then he went ahead and used the other $50. He bought a carbon chatas, and he never repaid the original $50 plus shachaymish, or he went ahead and bought another chatas with other monies. I'll call upon him. He knows that he was Meilah behegdish. He knows that he was Meilah behegdish in the money that was designated for a chatas. And lepel he was achar kach karva chatosi v'adayin lehifrish milosi. Oy, even hifrisha, even let's say he was mafresh the money for his chatas, abavali kololo b'dmei chatosi. So he was moil b'dmei chatas. He went ahead and he was mafresh money for the chatas, and lepel he went ahead and brought the chatas with other money. So the din is yoylech ha-me'ilah v'chumsha liyamamelch. That me'ilah and chumsha, which was designated for the chatas, which he never used for the chatas, and now he went ahead and he's already la'achra ma'isi. He was already nischaper. It was nischaper baleh. So that money goes li'ibut, goes liyamamelch. It's like a din of a chatas, which is like nischaper baleh before it was found. Noidel Shemuel. However, Noidel Shemuel achar shekar v'chatasi, he went ahead and used the money of a chatas. He didn't realize he used the money of a chatas. And then he went ahead and brought this chatas, for whatever, brought the chatas with the rest of the money. And then he realizes that he was moil. Noidoli shemal achar shekar v'chatasi. And now again he owes l'chura the dmei chatas. So over here is yiplu mois ha-me'ilah v'chumshel l'nedova. She'ein mafrishn b'tchila le'ibot. In other words, it's saying like this: when a person goes ahead and he was moil in this Dmei Chatas. And he knows about it. He knows about it. Either he was mafresh the money, he wasn't mafresh the money, but he knows about it. So he's really mechuyev in being mafresh the money. So at that point in time, the din is that he should go ahead and use that money for Dmei Chatas. And if he doesn't use the money for the Dmei Chatas, and he goes ahead and is mafresh chatas, so that money is helech liibud. That's talking about because there was already the money there. Masha'inkin, in a case where he didn't have the money yet, there was no afrashi yet, and he didn't even know about it, so he went ahead and he was mafresh chatas, and then he realized that he was moil behegdish, and now he's going ahead and being mafresh the money, now he's being mafresh the money. So here there's a din that ein mafrishin liibud, and Meilah, that money that he's being mafresh now doesn't go liyamamelech, but that money goes takal in the dov. No, that doesn't have a din of a chatas shemesu baleh or a chatas sheniskapur baleh. This has a din that l'chatchila, this money is destined to go for nedavar. The original money, or when a person was already knew about his Meilah, so really he was already supposed to bring the money for the chatas and lepel. He didn't use it for the chatas. So then we look at it as Meiser Achatas. He's not Meiser. You use it like Achatas, and he was already in his Chapas and his Kapur Bala. So that money goes liibut. Masha'inkin over here, when that money wasn't really around yet, wasn't even Bechlal Begeder, and now the Chiyuv Ersh happens later. So now is Ein Mafrishin Mois liibut, and therefore he goes ahead and takes this money and he gives it l'nedava. Al Kobon, that's the halacha. The Havanas halacha. There's a deal on what's the Havanas halacha. But that's the halacha. The halacha is very clear that if he knew about it before, or certainly if he was mafresh it before, and then he brought a chatas and he didn't use this money, so then this money goes liyam hamelech. If he didn't know about it before, and now he's being mafresh it after he was already mafresh chatasei, so that money goes l'nedavo. Ben koch or ben kach lepel, he was male behegdish. So Meilah yavi asham milos, he has to bring the asham milah. That's benigei chatas. However, ba'asham, when we're talking about an asham, is bein shenedel shemal kedem shekarav ashamei. A achish shekarav. Either way, regardless of when he found out about it, there's no din of the money going liyam hamelech. And there's by a chatos with this din of chatos shemesu balesh niskapru bala. So then, if he was nedel koydem, so then that money goes liyam hamelech. Mashenk by an asham is not like that. By an asham is bein shenedel shemal kedem shekarav ashamei. A achish shekarav is either way tipul milosei. So the money that he was moil goes l'nedavim, they shook him Eser Asham. And also the Yavi Asham Milas, if he has to bring an Asham Milas, because lepel he was male behegdish. Halacha ches. Hamoicher Elosei Ushlam. If a person was mafresh a carbon oila to bring, or he was mafresh a carbon shlamim in order to bring for himself, and now he wants to go ahead and sell it, that someone should bring an oila for himself. That person should go ahead and bring the oila for himself, or the shlam for himself. Is lay osaklum, nothing happens. There's no mechira, it's not yours to sell, it's not a sellable item. Now, v'din teira, ikra the dinner should be, sheyavzur amoyes chulun k'mishahoyu, that the money that the moicher got for this oilu shlam, which is really his oilu shlam, and it's still his oilu shlam, it can't become someone else's oilu shlam, and if that person is going to bring it, is going to bring it for him. But so din teira sheyavzur chulun k'mishahoyu, that the money which he got for this oilu shlam should be given back to the lekeach. Aber the konsu esei chachamim, they cancel the lekeach. Sheyiplu amois l'nedava, that the mois which the lekeach gave for this elu shlam should be yiplu l'nedava. And Meilah, that money should be used as l'nedava for kayitz hamizbeach. Afilo hoisa habehem shava arba, and lepeilu mochra b'chamisha. So l'chura only 4 of it was really what he was supposed to give for this, and lepeilu gave 5. So the din is hachamisha kulan yiplu l'nedava. All of the 5 that the lekeach gave should be yiplu l'nedava. Ve'en kan Meilah le'mid v'ritei ve'le'mid v'risei. From this sale that he sold the oil and the shlam and he got money for it, there's no din Meilah in it because lepel is not really a sale. So nachama, when you person owns an oil or shlam, he goes ahead and sells it to someone, and the lekeach now has this oil or shlam. So the din is the money that the moicher got from the lekeach, even though that money was really shleikadin, because lepel the lekeach got nothing for it. The oil and shlam is still the moicher's. But nevertheless, that money should go l'nedava, and the fact that the mecher sold it is not considered din Meilah because nothing really happened. Halacha tes yesh Meilah b'nedarim ketzat ha'emer kikar zu alai carbon ehegdish v'achla is mal. So there's a din Meilah because he said alai carbon. Afal pishi muteres lacherim lepel is muteres lacherim because he only said alai carbon. It's not really a carbon. It's only a carbon alive, but the fact that he says it's a light carbon causes that there should be a din Meilah. Lefichach ein lapidin. And since it's muteres lacherim, so it's not hegdish mamish, it doesn't have that madrega of kedusha, which could be nitfas and pidyon. Shari ein a kedesh el lezebel vad. It's only kedesh lezebel vad. So Meilah it can't be nitfas bepidyon. It can be nitfas bepidyon. However, Amar kikar zul kodesh a carbon va'achlo. It's been hu bein acher mal. Either way, it's mal because Lepeli said there is zul kedesh, and lefichach yesh lapidyon. So therefore, there's a din pidyon. Now, hoysel lefonov, because it's a regular hegdish, or hegdish is tefes is daf. Hoysel lefonov kikar shel hegdish. There's a kikar shel hegdish lying there, and he's standing next to it. So Meilah is koinu b'kinyan dal ramas is brought down. Meilah, so therefore he could be magdish it. If it's not bershusei, he can be magdish it. There's a person can be magdish davar sheina bershusei. But over here it's a kikar shel hefker, which is bershusei. Va'amar, and he could be koinet. Va'amar kikar zu hegdish. So, and he said kikar zu hegdish as the din of hegdish. Now, not la manas la'achla. Now he picks her up on manas la'achla, so basically he's moiled. He's taking it out of hegdish. He's taking it in order to eat. So the din is ma'alefi kulas. He's moiled in the entire value of the item. The item is whatever it's worth. And by picking it up on manas la'achla, so now it itself was the Meilah. However, on manas lahirisha, if he picks it up, and is right now he doesn't want to be kainet. He doesn't want to have it, of manas la'achla. He wants that when, before he dies, he should be kainet in order for his children to yarshin it. He doesn't want to have it now. He doesn't want to use it now. He wants that it should be his, and it should be his in order to be able to be nourished his children. So that's the hana that he's having from it, is that it should be his to be nourished his children. Is more lefi tevis hano yeshiva. So he's only made lefi that tevis hano. Knows it's not. Knows he's not getting the whole thing. He's not getting the whole value of it. He's only getting the value of what he wants to have in order to be able to be made as his bonav. So Meilah, that value there's a din Meilah. Halacha yud. Ho'ema lechaveri kikri alecha hegdish. That my kicker on you should be hegdish, and he could do that because it's his kicker, and he could say that it's hegdish for this and this person. And then v'chazar v'nosnole. He now this noising, which really has no isser on the item. There's no isser for him on the item. There might be an isser mitzad hilchus nedarim, but not mitzad hilchus hegdish. V'chazar v'nosnole. So the din is hamekabel matana zu ma'alik sheyetzi. So there was no Meilah done as far as the mekabel is concerned because he didn't take anything. He was given something. And on the other hand, the person that was noisen didn't have any isser to give it mitzad hegdish. Mitzad nedarim, he did have an isser, but mitzad hegdish he didn't have an isser. So Meilah there was no Meilah on the noising. So Meilah, so what happens? So there's like something that's hegdish on the mekabel, which when the mekabel uses it, he was being Meilah. The fact that he has it is not a Meilah because it was given to him. But if he uses it, then it'll be a Meilah. It's nacham aleh. Eisel lechaveri kikri olecha hegdish and v'chazar v'nosle. The person that the Asad went ahead and gave it to the person that became Nasser on him. So hamekabel matana zumal likshiyetzi. Shari hanoisen ain't asura olav. There's no isser on the noisen, the fact that he gave it to the mekabel, because there was no isser on him. V'chein kol kiyetzi b'zeh mish'ara kenomis is yesh behen Meilah l'neser behen. So there will be a Meilah l'neser behen. That's the din. So this din is if whether he says hegdish or he says koinim, which is also a lashon of hegdish. So all these dinim is that a person can asur something of his on someone else, and therefore that's something else that becomes usur on that person. And if you give it to that person, so the giver there was no din hegdish on him, so maybe he wasn't over on anything. The receiver wasn't either over on anything at this point in time. But masha'inke, when the receiver will go ahead and use it, so then there'll be a Meilah. Yesh ben Meilah l'neser ben. V'chol devarim hanesarim olav min neder kazeh. Anything that's neser on someone from such a type of neder. And when you say in such a type of neder, so the Ram Aruch brings that l'chura, when a person just says that this kicker is osir alai, so then it doesn't have a din of hegdish. When does it have a din of hegdish? When he says kicker is like carbon or like hegdish. That's the pshat. So anything that was nesar, min neder kazeh, this type of a neder, which means a neder which has a lashon of hegdish, so that's mitztarfim. So they're all mitztarf, and therefore v'mnana mekulam b'shava prutamol. So if you're neder, you don't have to be neder from one neder. A person, there was a neder made that he's not going to have enough from this, or he's not going to have enough from this. Having enough from this will be hegdish. And Lepeli was neder from one of them pachs b'shava pruta, and the other one pachs b'shava pruta. and together there was a Shava Pruta, so it's Mitzdarf and Ismol. Halacha Yud Aleph. Ha'omer Hanetiyah So'elu Korban Im Einon Niktzosis Hayem. At this point in time, there are carbon if they won't be Niktzat Hayem. Or Vitala Zek Korban Im Lei Tisaref Hayem. If it won't be burnt today, it should be a carbon. And V'avar Hayem V'lei Niktzatzu V'lei Nisr V'atalos. Is Arayim Hegdish? That's a regular Hegdish. V'yipodik Kishar Hegdish. In other words, the person makes a tonight says if they're not going to be Niktzas, they should be Chal Hegdish. So the Hegdish will be Chal when the day passes and they weren't Niktzas. Harayim Hegdish V'yipodik Kishar Hegdishas. V'achakach Yehanabem. Only after the Nivda you could be Nana. Avalim Omar Harei Hanatiyah So'elu Carbon Achi Kotzatzu. Faket. He didn't say they're carbon Achi Kotzatzu. They should be a carbon now Achi Kotzatzu. Is Einan Yechel of Desa. He can't be paid it. Why? Shebechol Eishi Yipodu Yazuri Hegdish Achi Kotzatzu. He says they should be Hegdish Achi Kotzatzu. So the pill there's Chal Hegdish. Now he goes ahead and he's paid it, so it's again Chal Hegdish. Because he said Harei and Elu Hegdish. This Harei Elu Hegdish is not only one now. It's Harei Elu Hegdish Achi Kotzatzu. So Meilah, as long as they weren't Niktzatz, so the Hegdish is Chayzav in there. So Meilah is not Shachas Pidyon. The whole Musig of Pidyon is to take it out of Hegdish. But the Hegdish is like is oimed on top of it until you kotzatzu. So therefore, there's not shaykh's pidyon. Nachamal avam omar harei anatiyus elu korban achi kotzatzu. So Meilah eni yochel of desam shekol eis sheyipod b'chol eis sheyipikadu yazru hekdesh achi kotzatzu. Aber v'kiva sheniktzatzu. Once they were niktzatzu, it's dochinam tzichem pidyon because it said achi kotzatzu. So at that point in time, it becomes uis hekdesh. So a person can make something hegdish achi yikotzutzu, and when it's yikotzutzu, it becomes his hegdish. It's nifka the hegdish memela through the ktitza, and memela is not shachis pidyon. But medvar mamurim b'kshepodan hamagdish. If the magdish was paid it, so since he said harelu hegdish achi yikotzutzu, and he was paid it, so memela, so he was paid it, so memela is his. So again, it's chal the hegdish again. So memela the pidiyah didn't do anything. However, if someone else goes ahead and paid these netiyas, which he said, Harelu Hegdish Achi Yikotzutzu, is Harelu Yetzel Lechulin. Afa Pishadayin Liniktzutzu, and V'yimutar Nafla Magdish. Because he said Harein Hegdish Achi Yikotzutzu. So the Hegdish was Chal. Right now, someone else has paid it, so someone else has paid it, it becomes his. If it becomes his, so the Hegdish of the original Magdish can't be Chal on something that's now someone else's. So if he's paid it, so it's his, so it's chayzav in there, the hegdish and Meilah, he didn't accomplish anything with the pidyon. Because it was nifder and right away became hegdish again. Masha'enken, if someone else was paid it, so then it became chulin. It became chulin and it became biyad the new payda. Now once it becomes chulin, biyad the new payda, so his original hegdish, where he said, Harein hegdish achi yikotzu, can't be chal and Meilah, so it's chulin, and even the magdish is also mut.